Yeah. I mean, it showed.
Oh! Right through the articulation. So today we're talking about something very important for history and science, and that is Arrows versus Armour 3.
Yep.
Which, if you know about Arrows versus Armour 1 and 2, you're going to be wanting to watch and hopefully support 3. So let's talk to Todd about what they've got planned.
Hello. Right. What have we got planned? Well, we're changing everything really. So the first film was just about shooting at the breastplate. It was, the whole film was organised very quickly, just off the back of, it was actually a bad YouTube video I saw, and myself and a friend just went, this can't be right. So we went and got had a proper breastplate made, variable thickness, by good armourer, good shape, everything else. But it was just the breastplate. So, and that film was really successful, but of course very limited in scope. So then we decided to do it again about 3 years later, I think. And Arrows vs Armour 2 was born, but that was much more ambitious, much bigger, and we had to fundraise for it to do it. But again, just like the first film, part of the reason for the fundraising is that we use professional TV crew, which do not come cheap. But the result is that you get fantastic filming, fantastic framing, the quality, an understanding of actually, you know, all the will in the world, I'm an amateur. And you put professionals onto doing the job and you get everything that you want to get. So that was brilliant. And the armourer Augusto Bront was superb. Joe was superb. The arrows were superb from Will Sherman. Everything was great. And then of course the interaction with myself and Toby as well, and his insights were just brilliant.
That's Toby Capwell, in case you're wondering. So obviously Toby's featured on my channel quite often.
So again, we were very pleased with the results. It was superb. And we finally, that was massive, epic project though. We've come back for a
and this is the point at which my microphone's disconnected. So crazy. So you've got about another 12 minutes there of me and Todd talking about Arrows versus Armour 3. But do you know what? The best I can do is fill in here. So the important thing is Arrows versus Armour 3 takes this testing to the next stage. It also takes it further in period as well. So we're now moving from the Agincourt period, 1415, through to the middle of the 15th century, around 1450. So we're looking at the period here of the end of the 100 Years' War, when longbows are still super important, and of course the beginning of the Wars of the Roses, which are very important because then you see massed longbowmen in England against each other. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a later period, and therefore later period of armour, but more importantly we're also looking at the standard equipment of a man-at-arms, or someone who might be using a bill, or perhaps even a crossbow or a gunner or something like this. So we are looking at sallet with, so different type of helmet, with a brigandine over mail, with some plate arm defences, and in this case no leg defences. So obviously there's going to be more detailed videos on Todd's channel looking at the nature of the armour that they're going to be using. They've got a fantastic replica sallet from a very good Canadian armourer. More about that in the future. They've got a good brigandine, a sort of medium level brigandine I would describe it as. Obviously a period appropriate and accurately made mail, and plate arm defences as well. So we're going to be looking at a later period of armour, also different types of armour, brigandine and combined with mail and these kind of things. So we're going to be learning different things in Arrows versus Armour. But in addition to that, there are also two big differences in terms of the actual archers. So Joe's going to be back. Joe Gibbs is going to be back, of course, because he's a big part of this project. But in addition to that, there's going to be multiple archers. I think Todd said the number 6, okay? But you can wait and see about that. I'm sure Todd will put more information up about that. So they're going to be using multiple archers shooting at the target. Why is this interesting? Well, first of all, the humans are different. Okay, everyone shoots a little bit differently. But in addition to that, they're also different bows. So they're different bows of different draw weights. I believe between about 120 and maybe 160 pounds. But even of a given poundage, different bows, different war bows, long bows put out a different amount of energy because different woods behave and reflex slightly different speeds, and some are more efficient than others. So we've got different bowmen, different bows, but also multiple bowmen shooting at a single target. Why is that interesting? because particularly in the Wars of the Roses, we're often looking at armies which consist of between 5 and 10 times as many archers as men-at-arms. Okay, so that's super important and super interesting. English armies were predominantly archer armies. Okay, despite whatever you see at reenactments like the Battle of Tewkesbury, most Wars of the Roses armies were made up predominantly of archers, sometimes in a ratio of 10 to 1. Okay, so archery was considered super important. So we're going to see what do those longbows from multiple archers do to a target of medium level armour, not the top level knight wearing the Milanese cuirass and harness of the day. Instead, we're going to be looking at brigandine, mail, sunplate, sallet, this type of thing, and uncovered legs as well, which will be interesting. So there's that, but there's the final big difference about this is the arrowheads. Okay, so previously we've been looking at essentially predominantly raw time or mild steel equivalent forms of bodkin point. Okay, so sometimes what some people refer to as plate cutters, so like heavy bodkins, square sectioned arrowheads. In Arrows versus Armour 3, being made by Will Sherman, the arrows being made by Will Sherman of Medieval Arrows again, completely different type of arrowhead. And this actually links into some of the research that I've done and I've shared on a video. I'm obviously going to put links down below to both my previous video talking about the arrow laws, but also Arrows versus Armour 1 and Arrows versus Armour 2. If you haven't watched those, I'm sure you have, but just in case if you haven't, you can go and watch those as well, links down below. So the big difference with the arrows is we are now going to be using, or they are now going to be using, essentially Type 16s. Now Type 16s are edged, they have cutting edges on them and small barbs. So they are a completely different type of arrowhead in shape and construction, and even the way they attach to the arrow shaft. But in addition to that, they're also lighter. But in addition to that, one of the big differences is all of the medieval descriptions of them and the archaeologically found examples of them are steel. Okay, so they are no longer wrought iron or mild steel equivalent. They are going to be steel blades with a steel tip. So we're expecting some different results, but will we get different results? We don't know, and that's what's going to be really fascinating and amazing, unparalleled about Arrows versus Armour 3. At no point in academia or recreational historical science on TV documentaries or YouTube have we seen this level and this comprehensiveness of testing of the bows, the arrows, and the armour, and the different types of armour as well. So it's really exciting. What's happening at the moment is essentially a backing project. Okay, so if you want to help back the project, this is really expensive. Okay, they've got multiple, like dozens of staff, okay, on this project. Professional camera people, obviously editing people, just loads of people involved behind the scenes in making this come to you. This is equivalent to a small TV documentary. So if you want to help make this happen, and if you want to back the project and be part of it, and there's various rewards and stuff depending, you know, for different backers and stuff, but you can check that out down below. There is a link down below, the top link there, which is the fundraiser, the backing kind of stage of Arrows versus Armour 3. So thanks a lot for Todd for having me over. I'm sorry that the rest of the interview didn't pan out. My fault entirely. I didn't notice the light was flashing on the microphones, which meant that they disconnected. But hopefully the end goal is achieved here. Arrows versus Armour, it's going to be super exciting. I'm very much looking forward to going and watching some of the filming, although I'm not directly involved with it. I'm going to be there hopefully for some of it. And it's going to be really exciting. I'm personally really stoked about finding out what the results of some of these things are. I'm particularly excited about Type 16 arrowheads because I have my own ideas, theories, and information about these, which I've shared partially in past videos, and I'll be talking about them again in future videos, maybe also with Will Sherman, but of course his stuff will all be featured on this video series as well. So if you can, anything is appreciated. If you can help back this project, I'll appreciate it. Todd and the entire team will of course appreciate it. Links down below. Thanks for watching. I have been Matt Easton. He was Todd, and we will hopefully see you again in another video. Cheers, folks.